Beneath the blood-red sky, the desert wind carried the smell of rain, though the sky had been bone dry for months. Jonas Vale could taste the dust on his tongue. It had been 3 weeks on the trail, and every hoofbeat from his geldings sounded like a heartbeat he wasn't sure he still had in him. The land here was all sharp edges and wide silence. Mesas cut against the horizon like God's own carving knife, and canyons so deep you could drop a secret into them, and it'd never see daylight again. Jonas was 50 if he was a day, though his reflection told a man older. The creases around his eyes weren't from smiling, and the silver threading his black hair wasn't from peace. His duster coat was older than some towns, and the coat at his side had more notches than he cared to count. They called him a bounty hunter. That was the polite word. Truth was, Jonas had spent most of his life chasing men, collecting their shadows, and selling them for coin. But this time was different. In the pocket of his coat was a yellowed telegram. The words had been burned into his mind since the day he got it. Jonas, you best come to Dustwater. Boy here says he's yours. Reverend Cole. Jonas hadn't been back to Dustwater in 20 years. Not since the winter he rode out and left behind a woman named Eliza May. The sun was setting when the first outline of the town rose in the distance. Wooden rooftops, a leaning church steeple, a strip of dust they called Main Street, and above it all, the sky bled red. Dustwater was quieter than Jonas remembered. The saloon had more chairs stacked on tables than folks inside. The general store's porch sagged like it had given up trying. The church was the only place with any light, yellow glow spilling from its windows, cutting through the evening gloom. Reverend Cole was older now, skin like parchment, voice still steady as bedrock. He led Jonas out back to a small graveyard before saying much. They stopped at a stone marker. Fresh-turned dirt. Eliza May Harper, 1839 to 1880. Jonas didn't speak, didn't move. That boy inside, the Reverend said softly, hasn't got much left in the world. Been sleeping in the bell tower since his mama passed. Says his name Samuel. Says his mama told him about a man named Jonas Vale. Jonas swallowed hard. When they stepped back into the church, the boy was sitting on the front pew. Couldn't have been more than 12. Same dark eyes as Jonas. Same stubborn tilt of the chin. You're him, the boy said. It wasn't a question. Jonas nodded. The boy didn't smile. Didn't cry. Just studied him like a man sizes up a stranger who might be dangerous or might be salvation. That night, Jonas slept in the loft above the church stables. Or tried to. The air was heavy, charged. Sometime after midnight, he heard the sound. Hoofbeats. Not many. 4, maybe 5. Riding slow. The kind of slow that wasn't in any hurry, because it already owned the place it was heading to. In the morning, Reverend Cole told him who they were. Clayton Pike's men. Been bleeding this town for near 2 years now. They take what they want. Coin cattle daughters. We've got nothing left worth stealing but our lives, and I reckon they'll come for those too. Jonas had heard the name before. Pike had been a rustler, then a killer, then something worse, a man who enjoyed being feared. The boy, Samuel, said nothing during breakfast, just kept glancing out the window toward the north road. Jonas didn't have to ask why. Jonas had spent his whole life riding away from trouble that wasn't paying him. This time, there was no bounty, no price, just a boy who looked at him like maybe, just maybe, he could make the world safe for a night. He told himself it wasn't his fight. That Dustwater had lived with Pike's shadow long before he came back. But when the sun dropped low and turned the street to gold, Jonas found himself standing outside the church with his coat freshly oiled, his coat buttoned tight, and Samuel watching from the steps. "Why were you doing this?" the boy finally asked. Jonas didn't answer, but the truth was, for the first time in his life, he wanted to be worth the story someone might tell about him when he was gone. They came just after sunset. 5 riders, shadows against a fire-colored sky. Clayton Pike at the front, tall, lean, with a smile that didn't touch his eyes. "Well now," Pike drawled as he dismounted, "look who's come to die in Dustwater." Jonas stepped into the street. The town was silent but for the creak of leather and the whisper of wind. You've had your fun here, Jonas said. It ends tonight. Pike laughed. And who's going to stop me? You. Jonas didn't move, didn't blink. He let the moment stretch until even the wind seemed to hold its breath. The first man reached for his gun. Jonas' Colt cleared leather before the thought was finished. The shot cracked like thunder. The man dropped. Then the street was fire and noise. Gun smoke curled into the cooling night, and the echoes bounced off the empty buildings. Jonas moved like a man who'd been doing this too long to miss. When the dust settled, Pike lay in the dirt, blood spreading dark beneath him. His smile was gone. Jonas stood there for a long time, breathing hard, the weight of the Colt heavy in his hand. The boy ran to him, wide-eyed. You stayed. Jonas holstered the gun. Yeah, kid, I stayed. By morning, Pike's men were gone. Dustwater felt lighter, though the scars would take time. Jonas saddled his horse, Samuel watching from the church steps. You coming back? The boy asked. Jonas looked at him for a long moment. Reckon I might. As he rode out, the sun was climbing over mesas, staining the sky deep red, the kind of red that felt like both an ending and a beginning. And for the first time in years, Jonas Vale didn't feel like a man running from his past. He felt like a man riding towards something worth keeping.